Hello, this is Positive Vibed Enterprise. I am Tom Goodwin. This is Michelle Ronquillo.
Hello, everybody.
And the subject today has to do with group versus individual identity. And um,
Yes.
a lot of the times, with me, I like to deal with people as individuals because I'm trying to reach them deeply. And sometimes people have a group identity that makes it so that they don't tune into themselves individually that well. And that can be a detriment. Whereas sometimes they have a group identity that does not do that. So, I mean, having a group identity and an individual identity and some identity with the universal world we live in all can play a part. But you have to be careful that you don't play one too much against the other. You need a balance.
I think it's important to, in individual senses of the spiritual sense, we're building individual ideas and perceptions. So those need to be vocalized. And it is important in a group that like-mindedness, that everybody gets their individual state of perception and input, and look for the leaders in those individualized groups, so everybody has a chance to shine what they have to offer in the group.
Yeah, a lot of times there's sort of like a party line or something that they expect everybody to line up with and walk lock stepped together, and that's where it can be a restricting and inhibiting effect.
Yes,
And it's the individual that's responsible for their action, the individual that has to develop their unique abilities.
that's right.
And you cannot really develop yourself individually if you're too much caught up in group identity or in that overrides your ability to develop yourself. And a lot of times that's the way it is, where people will get blinded, where it'll be us against them, and it's all the big battle, and they all line up together and as a group, and they lose their sensitivity to outside of the group. And then as also comes along with that is you lose your individual identity whenever you cause that kind of separation that makes it harder for one to tune into oneself as an individual. And
Yes.
you can take racial groups. Then you always find there are some people that don't fit in either race. You're always going to find people that blur the lines. And where do they fit? They don't know
Right.
where they fit. So it's never really that clear. It's like we're talking about sexual orientation. There's some people with really clear sexual orientation of straight or gay,
Yeah,
and
confidence.
there are some that are in between, and there's a whole spectrum. So you have to figure out for yourself individually where you stand on that spectrum. You cannot get yourself caught up. You're either this or that, because it doesn't work that way in the real world. The real world's really complicated and mixed up and so
Yeah.
forth, and you have to figure out what works the best for you. And that's what the end thing is. When it comes to the spiritual, we're interested in positive consequences and positive results. We don't get caught up in these
That's it.
doctrines that are rigid and say it's this way or that way and that's it. I mean, that's the way groups get, and that's the way religions sometimes get when dealing with these issues. And that is not
Yeah.
what counts, because God works through our reality.
Yes.
That's how God created us. It provides us with a reality that can work well for us provided we figure it out and make the most of, do what it takes to make the most of it.
Right. And the perceptions and the footwork is up to us. And the consequences and choices and contrasts of light and dark, it's all up to us. And it doesn't matter about any gender, or it's the essence and the spiritual sense of you.
We get too locked into these rigid formulas.
Labels.
Oh yeah, women have to. If a man wears a dress, that's terrible. Only women can wear dresses. Only men can do this. Women can do that. they try to make these clear-cut distinctions, and of course that had to do with gender roles and all that stuff. And we're trying to break that down so that we have more room for individuals to get
Yes.
the most out of themselves. Because when you create these rigid rules, you're going to find that some women don't fit into the stereotype for female, and some men don't fit into the stereotype for male, because there's a lot. Even the difference between the sexes is there's a lot of overlap. It's not so
That's
clear.
right.
It's not a clear group distinction. And then of course you have some rare genetic conditions where the distinctions even biologically aren't that clear. So
Right.
another example of how things are not really that clear and you have to figure it out. Now, when I was talking about God earlier, why did, I act like, oh, I know all about God, but I define God in such a way that it would work well for tuning people into our reality. I was just defining God in a way that would empower human beings and would work well. Because that's how I develop spiritual theories. I find out what spiritual theory would work the best. Now, we could have God being responsible for the messed up conditions in this world and all these other things, then we're helpless. We can't do anything. We're not empowered.
Right.
So you have to have a God that makes the reality work really well for us once we figure it out, because obviously we're not going to be, a lot of people don't know how to deal with our reality very well, so obviously we have to do the effort to figure it out. So I make these theories so that they become the best theory for us being to interact in our reality and to get to be the best results. So if ever I present a theory, you're going to have to think about that theory and say, well, how does that help me to interface with reality better? And all my theories are based on getting the most out of this reality, getting you to focus on this reality. And and it's so important to me that people tune in themselves as individuals, because it's
Yes.
basically who is empowered to make a difference. Where's the power at? It's on the individual level. Then once the individual can get the most out of
Yes.
themselves individually, then they can find groups that are compatible with them, and then they can work as a group to have the advantage of number to make things happen. And they can also see how they blend into the bigger society and how best they operate with the societal institutions and so forth, where they fit in.
Yes, I
But
think it's important too to have characteristics of yourself, your essence. Shine what you feel, dress how you want, beat to your own drum, spiritually feel yourself, your essence. That brings a lot of independence and leadership of who you are and what you have to offer.
But we live in a society where there are all these addictions and so forth. And when you're going to have people with addictions, physical addictions, you're going to also have emotional and intellectual addictions. It's going to go hit the other levels, and that's where you get people that are addicted to a particular group. It makes them feel better about
Yes.
themselves more than they should. I
Yes.
mean, it's okay for some groups to make you feel better about yourself when you mean feeling bad about yourself for the wrong reasons, and they help support you and give you a reasonable sense of self-esteem. But a lot of these groups, oh, we're so much better than everybody else. You better not argue or disagree with us, or we're going to put you in the pariah status.
Yeah, don't make a mask of to please groups or people. That's one big spiritual hiccup that people need to understand. That is your reaction that matters, not the other person. So what are you benefiting out of life in the healthy sense of spiritual? What are you gaining out of it? And don't be a people pleaser to where it hurts you spiritually.
Yeah, and of course, if you get too connected to certain groups, you can get really isolated and separated
Yes.
from society. And cults are the type that take that to an extreme degree. And a lot of the religions, you could say, are sort of like not all cult, but cults of certain types. And therefore, meaning they have a degree of being a cult.
A way of thinking that is with in line with
Yeah.
the orders or ways of life. I think that it's most important that anything that leads you to a higher power, anything that leads you to bettering yourself, evolving yourself, is healthy. You need to look at the spiritual healthiness of what is offered. And please, and this is, I say this with the most deepest part of my heart, anything that tells you to separate from your family and loved ones that are healthy for you, please double think that. You need that support system, and anything that says otherwise is very, very uh, unhealthy.
Well, a lot of times a group will act like they're special and it will create a separation of them from other groups that of a similar type in the world. And a lot of times it has to do with where people are born. It has a lot to do with what
Yeah.
group identity they'll have, and a lot of times they'll have this sort of superiority vision of who they are based on the group, and then they'll put down the other groups in the world. That's another harmful effect of being too connected to a group identity, is you can't see that what other people, the
Right.
value other people see in totally different types of groups they're connected to, be they religious or political or what.
Right.
So it's important to not be locked in or caught in that kind of thing. It's sort of like that's sort of an addiction in a way, because you're locked in and you cannot see as clearly beyond yourself. One of the things with me is I'm a spiritual independent, meaning I'm not independent of religion. It means that I'm like a political independent in the sense that I'm free to decide whatever I want spiritually.
Exactly.
And being a
Exactly.
developer of an astrology system, if I was connected with any religion, my astrology system would be tainted by that religion. It would be, and it wouldn't be able to reach everybody. So there's no way a person that's a spiritual pioneer like me could be affiliated with any of the religions, and you must understand that. And anybody that has a problem with that, I guess, has a problem with me, has a problem with what I'm trying to develop. I can't, say it any other way.
Right. Put some comments on there. Let's debate this with love and logic.
So that's why
Love and logic.
So that's why I come from where I come, and I admit that it eliminates a lot of people from being able to reach it. But a spiritual pioneer like me can only reach so many people, and the reason the reason why it's so easy for me to be a spiritual pioneer and open new ground is because we live in a world that's so locked into things that are antagonistic to somebody doing this. They want everybody to be identified with this group or that group or assigned to something or other, and they lock you in and they say you shouldn't go out there, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't go up against what's already out there.
Please question, please ask, please research, please search for your essence, your higher perception, your evolvement of you. Please, for the benefit of you, please.
And it's hard to make changes deep inside yourself. So a lot of times it's so much easier to conform and just go along with what you were settle for your comfort zone, what you were programmed in.
Comfort zone, creature of habit.
What you were programmed into yourself when you were growing up, and a lot of the spiritual beliefs that are out there are programmed into people. It's not, they don't ever question them. They just go with what's comfortable. And of course it's going to sound reasonable and rational to them, whatever they're programmed into themselves. They're going to say, this is the natural order. Why would I want to question it? But at a certain point, you have to say the natural order is not working for me very well. It's not working for the world very well.
Right.
I got to go beyond what the natural order that I feel in my gut is right, and I have to figure out what actually is right. And because intuition isn't perfect, but intuition can be improved. But if you're locked into a certain perspective that you've never questioned, you're not going to get better intuition, because part of developing something better is questioning things and checking out alternatives and figuring out which alternatives work better than other
What
alternatives.
plugs into the reality the
In,
best.
in interfacing with this reality, because you want your intuition to work in this reality. Well, you don't want it to be the type of intuition that's creating all kinds of delusions and fantasy that may be intoxicating and exciting. But if it's not interfacing with reality, what good is it? And if you're a person like me that struggles to survive all your life, you you have that strong respect for reality, and you have a strong respect for all the people that struggle in this world that have problems related to reality. Meaning you're not in some kind of pie in the sky state in which you're disconnected from the real world, the real problems, and the real people that are struggling. And that, to me, is the essence of being strong and valuable in the spiritual realm. Spiritually, is what you can do to make this world a better place, to change the conditions that are hard to change in this world, that are not in anybody. I can't see how anybody can think the starving or the abuse and everything is a positive thing that should stay the way it is.
That's right. The consequences of people suffering is to be aware, be conscious, help with thoughts, be a better you, and be open-minded to all the new perceptions that we need. We need those hard warriors out there doing their best and working to the bitter end. And sweat and tears and joys and laughter will make this world a better place.
And individuals have to, I mean, that's why you have to question things and so forth, because the only way you can figure out how you differ from others individually and how you can get the most out of yourself, how you can contribute the most of value to the world in whatever area you figure out is good, is by questioning things, challenging things, and really getting to know how unique you are as an individual. And that's what will be able to help us solve the problems in this world, is by more people getting the most out of themselves individually, being tuned in well with reality, so that they will want to contribute to make this world a better place. And that should be one of the major motivations for being here. And that's what will make you feel good about yourself. You want to be happy? Well, be a great contributor to making this world a better place.
Work at it. And be the example that you want to see.
And if you develop yourself really well and you get your habits such that they will help you to become really healthy, when you're really healthy, physically and spiritually, you're going to feel better anyway.
You're going to see the clarity. You're going to feel the clarity, and you're going to understand what it means.
It just feels good to be healthy and to be in good condition spiritually.
And also working at something, your passions, your goals, to be you better you. All that in your daily, in your time management, there's no idle. There's time now. You don't know how much time you have, so you might as well do everything you can right now.
And you feel a lot better when you have the freedom that you're not locked into all these desires that are pushing you in directions that are unhealthy. If you can make if you're not addicted to all these desires, so you can make choices. You have the freedom to make choices that are healthy for you. That's going to make you feel a lot better, rather than I have to do that, I have to eat this, I have to. A lot of that's related to groups, because groups a lot of times are connected to having common desires. The people that love bacon society could be a society. That's what I see on the internet, how people love coffee. Coffee's another one.
Coffee.
Not that a little coffee isn't, but I mean, when you get addicted to it, it's different than just having a little bit. So, this is Positive Vibes Enterprise. The subject was group versus individual identity.
Yay! Be an individual. Be you. Be who you are, and love who you are.
And don't join groups for the benefit of yourself as an individual.
Example. That's right. Speak out.
Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please spread the word about us.
Yay!
Because We really need to be heard.
Make comments.
We need more than 19 subscribers.
Come on, let's go.
I mean, I got stuff all over the internet, and it's just not being read and paid attention to. We need people to get it out there.
Research, seek, look.
Because that's the problem we always have in this world, is that new ideas have a hard time getting out. We need people that aren't getting their ideas out to get more of a forum.
Independence.
We can't let the media mindset lock all these people out. We need the media to loosen up and allow new people in and stop stereotyping people and seeing them only as members of groups and not being able to relate to them as individuals. I had to say that because that's exactly what the media does all the time.
Tom. You go, Tom.
Okay.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Yes, and thank you again.
Thank you.